Hi guys, welcome to this video. I'm Prashant, I'm the founder of Word Pandit, and I'm bringing this series of videos to you wherein I explain previous year CAT-RC questions. In this particular passage analysis video, we're going to pick up a CAT 2018 RC, analyze the passage, extract the most useful information out of this passage. This information can be used in turn to solve RC questions. So we'll extract the important points from this passage. What is it that you need to derive out of this passage? So let's get started with this passage analysis. This particular passage has happiness right at its center, and it deals with the topic of happiness. How so? Let's read the passage and understand. Economists have spent most of the 20th century ignoring psychology, positive or otherwise. So whether it's positive, neutral or negative psychology, economists have ignored it. But today there is a great deal of emphasis on how happiness can shape global economies, or on a smaller scale, successful business practices. So now happiness is being related to global economies and, more importantly, successful business practices. This is a very key point, right? This is what the passage is going to do. It's going to link happiness with business practices. This is driven in part by a trend in measuring positive emotions, mostly so that they can be optimized. Neuroscientists, for example, claim to be able to locate specific emotions such as happiness or disappointment in particular areas of the brain. Wearable technologies such as Spire offer data-driven advice on how to reduce stress. So now what is happening here is, what is the correlation that is taking place is, there are businesses that are being built around the field of happiness, neuroscience and related fields. These are being used in order to identify specific emotions such as happiness or disappointment. Now these emotions in turn are being connected with wearable technologies, right? And that's how the business, the happiness business, if you want to call it that, is being run. And now this is what the concern of the passage is. The author says we are no longer dealing with happiness in philosophical or romantic sense. So it's not about actually your personal fulfillment. It has become something that can be monitored, measured, including by our behavior, use of social media and bodily indicators such as pulse rate and facial expressions. So now we've gone into the field of measuring and monitoring our happiness. There is nothing automatically sinister about this trend. He's saying don't view this automatically negatively, but it is disquieting. So there is uneasiness, according to the author of the passage, that the businesses and experts driving the quantification of happiness, remember happiness now is being converted into numbers, claim to have our best interests at heart, often concealing their own agendas in the process. So the author is implying these companies have their own agendas, these subtle agendas. It's not that they're very sinister or evil, but they do have their own agendas. In the workplace, happy workers are viewed as a win-win. Work becomes more pleasant, employees more productive. But that classic word but brings about a different opinion. So there is a positive statement. The moment the author uses a but, that reflects his viewpoint. But this is now being pursued through the use of performance evaluating wearable technology such as Humanyze or Virgin Pulse, both of which monitor physical signs of stress and activity towards the goal of increasing productivity. So all of a sudden, workplace happiness is now being linked to what? Increasing productivity. Cities such as Dubai, which has pledged to become the happiest city in the world, dream up ever more elaborate and intrusive ways of collecting data on well-being. So the word elaborate and intrusive, more elaborate and intrusive, signal negativity on side of the author. He's viewing this as a negative, right? Which is obvious as well, to the point where there is now the talk of using CCTV cameras to monitor facial expressions in public spaces. So that's the kind of intrusion that is going to take place. New ways of detecting emotions are hitting the market. Now he's going to give you examples of companies who are going to be detecting emotions. So these are just examples of how emotions are being monitored, what Facebook is doing, what Beyond Verbal is doing. As the science grows more sophisticated, technologies become more intimate with our thoughts and bodies, a clear trend is emerging. What is this clear trend? Where happiness indicators were once used as a basis to reform society, right? So you used happiness as an indicator. You wanted your society to be happy. Remember, it's not only about economic factors. Your society needs to be happy as well. And happiness has a lot of other factors, the health and well-being of your population, for example. Challenging the obsession with money that GDP measurement entrenches, they are increasingly used as a basis to transform or discipline individuals. So this is the sad aspect now. How is this technology being used? How are happiness indicators being used? They are being used to transform transform or discipline individuals. Happiness becomes a personal project that each of us must now work upon, like going to the gym, because you've converted it into a number. There are targets for happiness. Since the 1970s, depression has come to be viewed as a cognitive or neurological defect in the individual and never a consequence of circumstances. So basically the blame has been placed on the individual. All of this simply escalates the sense of responsibility, each one of us, for our own feelings, and with it the sense of failure when things go wrong or things go badly. Now, what the author is here implying is, since the 1970s, depression is being viewed at the level of an individual and as a cognitive or neurological defect. The author here is implying a similarity, right? Why has he highlighted this fact? Because he wants to highlight the fact that happiness has also become something which is a personal project, something similar to depression. A society that deliberately removed certain sources of misery, such as precarious and exploitative employment, may well be a happier one, but we won't get there by making this single, often fleeting emotion the overarching goal. So this should not be your goal, right? This should not be your sole purpose. We should not place happiness at the center of everything, right? It's not the one emotion that is going to fix everything. That is the view of the author. Overall, the author takes a negative viewpoint. He highlights the problems with these wearable technologies, how these things are being used to transform or discipline individuals. These are not things which sit easy with the author of the passage here. These are the important points that you needed to derive from this particular passage. If you derive these points, you will be in a very good position to solve questions based on this passage. Hopefully so, the passage is clear to you now. Thank you very much for watching this video, and as always, happy learning.